Hello guys, welcome back to another Cinematic Mike review. Today I'm going to review Robert Eggers' film The Northman. The Northman stars Alexander Skarsgård. It's a story of a young child who ends up seeing his father murdered and ends up vowing revenge. It's another revenge story. We've seen these revenge stories, but there's things where we've seen these kind of plot lines already. It could either be a revenge story, another thing. I can't think of there was a movie that came out a few years ago that brought that same feeling where it actually worked. People were like, yes, it's a cliche like plot line, but it actually works. And I think it goes with this film too, which is what I felt. I'm like, as long as it works, it's entertaining, it's good, then that's fine with me. I think this film was actually fun and entertaining, to be honest with you. I was glad to start off 2022 with like the Batman and then come all the way down here and finish off the beginning of this great, wonderful year of 2022, the start of it. Now we're getting to the summer. But for me, it's kind of over already right here for the beginning. That's it for me. I don't have anything else I want to watch until like the summer. But I just love the movies that came out in these past months already. So yeah, The Northman, it's a film, about the child that's trying to get revenge for his father. And I thought the story was good. The thing, it's not just the story. We've seen it again. This whole story is kind of good right here. The directing here is good. The cinematography here is good. The one thing that I was seeing in interviews is a lot of the whole studio getting involved. It was like a studio film because Robert Eggers is known for like indie films like The Witch and The Lighthouse. These kind of indie type of films. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. I wanted to see it because it looked like a little action movie, and I was like, oh, cool, it's gonna be interesting. And it's getting like kind of comparisons to like The Gladiator, which is one of my father's favorite film, and I think it's great. It's a epic like hit period piece, historical piece, and all that. So I was interested in seeing this, and then when I started hearing this, I started reading a little bit and hearing about how he was kind of unsatisfied with it a little bit, or had to like accept the studio. So I guess he had to go. He needed the money from the studio to make this picture. And so when you see this film, it's kind of different from. So I'm sure like people that are like diehard of the indie type of films that Robert Eggers makes, it's still kind of here. There's still kind of some stuff that I think people are saying that's kind of his. But right here you could tell it's kind of like I felt it, like you could actually feel it. Yeah, it's like a blockbuster film, so basically like a studio film. So, but to me, it was entertaining and fun, and I love the way it plays out throughout, because I think it has a lot to do with Robert Eggers' like creativity, the way he does the story and everything, the cinematography. I love it because the beginning, when I saw the beginning of the film, I was watching it, and then it got to a point where I'm like, man, this feels kind of like and I was saying it in my head, I'm like, what am I gonna say? What do I feel here? Because I'm thinking about what I feel here, and I'm like, I feel like this is kind of like something kind of dreamy, nightmarish, like the beginning, like the part with the father and all that. Ethan Hawke, who plays the dad, there's something about it that seemed kind of like, I don't know, like dreamy or nightmarish, like weird. And I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's the camera that does it too, that keeps us in kind of like this, I don't know, this type of world. And I love the framing too of this film. There's a lot of like central framing, which I love, and then it always like pushes in, which is another thing I love, because it keeps you hooked into this world of this Viking world, this like historical place and all that. It keeps you hooked into, and like it moves the story forward also. So I love the central framing, how some people just pop up like they're outside and then they walk right to the middle of the frame, or the camera's just there and there's like a door, like of whatever it is from the historical times. It's framed in the middle, or our main star is actually framed in the middle too. So I love that a lot of it's like that. And I was looking at every like shot, and every shot actually looks like something you would see like in a picture. Like every shot looks like you could just take it out and it's an actual good picture, just like a wonderful picture, and you can just pick it out. So that's something that I really loved about the film, and the dreamy aspect of it, which I saw people are calling it. I didn't know this was the right word that I probably was thinking of. But mysticism is what they're saying, mysticism. So that's probably the right word. The whole thing that I'm telling you that I felt kind of dreamy, it kind of goes away right when it focuses on him as an adult, but then it comes back later also. And so it's weird because it's not just like a grounded type of film. It's also kind of like I guess that's part of what it's called, mysticism, where you're talking about like Valhalla, Odin, and all that. You see this lady, Icelandic singer who I don't know, but Bjork is in it, and she plays like this witch. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. It was funny because when I started, the way they talk, the language that they speak, it reminded me a little bit of, they're not talking like perfect English like we talk, it's not like straight up like English and all that. It is in English. It's not like in its original. Some parts are, but they still speak in a way that's kind of Shakespearean, and that's one of the things I love because I took Shakespeare class. I read some of Shakespeare's books, plays, and so yeah, I love that it was like that. And I was like, oh, cool. This is kind of like another Shakespeare. And I was like, wow, that's nice. He did kind of this story of like Norse and Shakespeare and all that. So I thought that was pretty good. That's one of the things that got me interested more into it, that it was playing out that way. The other thing is this film isn't action packed. It's not like one big time action scene after another action scene, which could have probably killed this too. And it was a part where I was like, oh, I thought it was gonna be more. But it didn't get boring. I was getting to a point where I'm like, is this gonna be kind of boring? No, it was actually getting interesting. And even though like it plays out like a studio movie and all that, there are some parts where I'm like, man, it probably would have been interesting, like seeing it be like kind of a slow burn type of indie film, because that's kind of what I thought. Because when they were comparing it to like Gladiator and something, I thought it was I didn't know it was a studio film until I started reading like the articles and all that, the interviews. Um, so I thought it was gonna be something like that. I was like, oh, this must be an epic thing. You know, he's an indie director. He's making this period like type of movie, and it might be something impressive. You know, with the something big like the way they say like Gladiator and all that. But it doesn't feel like it does feel like a lot of like studio work, blockbuster-ish type of thing. But it's a good one. It's not a bad one. I think it's good. I loved it. I thought it was great. From beginning to the end, I thought it was great. I obviously always want to see a director's vision because that's the way they wanted to play it. So I would have been interested in seeing the way he wanted to do it. And like me, I'm not one of those people that is like, all right, this was good because it's all action. I'm okay if it goes a little bit slow, as long as it's doing something interesting. Like I read an article where it said he was trying to like do it true to the Norse mythology or the story of this, because this is based on an actual story. And then I read that, I guess at a, you know what they do, the thumb thing, what's it called? Test screening. Someone complained, or the studio said that it was too slow. We need to like make it kind of like interesting right away, you know? And I guess he wanted to play it out kind of slow, giving us like details of everything of this world and all that and how it was. So I would have been interested in that, you know, as long as it plays out properly in that way. Yeah, it's fine. But right here, as a blockbuster film, it's fine too. The thing of the mysticism comes back later. I love how in the part when he's getting his revenge, it's like a plague, like a monster, like witchcraft. And I love the way it plays, like something's out there, like just like, and it's just him, but it plays like some kind of demon is outside causing all this harm. And so that's another thing that I loved about it. There's a scene in this film that I think people are going to be disturbed by, not like the brutality of it. This film's really brutal. There's a lot of violence in it. There's a lot of things that might make some people squirm and all that. But there's one part in this film that people are going to be really disturbed, where my freaking audience was like, oh, what the hell? And I'm like, I kind of saw it coming already. But to be honest, it didn't disturb me as much because, dude, one of my all-time favorite TV shows, as I said this in many videos, it's Boardwalk Empire, and I think what happens there is much worse than this one. So I've seen this already in movies and in TV already. Game of Thrones kind of has this little thing kind of too. So a lot of people were disturbed when they saw it in the movie theater. But me, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then again, the beginning of this part with this kind of betrayal in the film. I'm trying not to spoil the film, but there's kind of like a betrayal from the beginning when he's a child, and then like towards when he's an adult and getting his revenge. I kind of saw that coming, so I don't know if that was kind of purpose, or you know, being someone that watches a lot of movies and all that, probably already can see something like that. I saw it coming, and the way it plays out, you can kind of tell that maybe this person's part of this too. So I kind of saw that coming already so I was like, oh, I wish it was more of a surprise for me. For some, I think they didn't see it coming, because some people were like kind of like all upset about it. But me, I kind of saw it coming, so it didn't really bother me. But I thought it was good for the story, though. I just wanted to kind of be in shock or be like more. It is kind of heartbreaking. Well, it is heartbreaking with what this person says to I can't Amlet, Alexander Skarsgård's character Amlet. Well, what? And then he says something like, this person destroyed my childhood, or something like that. Killed my childhood. One person killed this, and this person killed my childhood. And so it's really heartbreaking when you see that. You kind of feel for it. And then because this guy basically vows a lot of things, and then these things just kind of go against him. One of the things I hate about reading like headlines and all that when movies are coming out, they kind of spoil the movie, which is what I hate. So there's kind of a spoiler that's been out there already. I'll say this one. It's not too big of a spoiler, but there's like the ending. Towards the end, there's like a big fight, and it said like, oh, a nude fight, between these two guys. It's gonna be, uh, like nude. I was like, oh, cool. It's probably gonna be as cool as the film Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen. So there's a cool scene like there. So it kind of reminded me, I'm like, oh, they're gonna bust like an Eastern Promises thing. But when you see the film, you can kind of tell it's kind of like a bit CGI'd or covered and all that. So it kind of bothered me there. I'm like, I would have been, that's kind of one of the things that I thought would have been more bad, is if it was kind of like an Eastern Promises thing, which is like one of the cool scenes at the end of Eastern Promises. So I was, when I read that headline, it really, I was like, first I was like, oh, cool, Eastern. But then again, it's like, oh, do I really want to know that, But then again, right now, I don't care because obviously it comes out to not really my liking. Just that thing about that being kind of like, or just like kind of CGI and all that. I thought it would have been more cool. It is cool when they fight. I thought that was a great scene when they fight. There's a scene like towards at that part, I think, and there's a scene that breaks my heart because you look into his eyes and then you can kind of see something like failure, and you throughout this film we're kind of rooting for this guy. Basically, he's the main star of this film, and it's his story. And he wants revenge, and you kind of, you're basically rooting for him. And me, I'm like, oh man, like this part gets heartbreaking when you look into his eyes. You're like, damn, look, like all these things kind of go against him in a way, things that he vowed and all that, and they kind of just backfire on him. And I'm like, oh, really? Is this really how this is gonna play out? I'm like, I don't. It'd be heartbreaking, but I don't know how. I'm not gonna give it away, but just that scene right there, like towards that part, is heartbreaking when you look into his eyes and then you see like kind of like a feeling of failure on there. Again, the reasons why I like it: it's well directed. The cinematography, I love how they do the central framing. People coming into the middle, everything's like shot like everyone's framed in the middle all the time. There's these kind of like tracking shots, like kind of trying to copy a little bit films that we've seen already. When I see these films do this, I don't believe them anymore because you always hear in the behind the scenes, all right, we cut at that part because that part gave us a chance to cut. And then I'm like, yeah. So when I see that, I'm like, you guys probably cut right there. Now I don't really believe them much. But still, it's cool to see it that way. The way they were making they were using camera movement, which is something that I love in movies with camera movement because it gets us more hooked into the story, the world that we're in. So it's one of the things I love. Directing, cinematography, the writing of Robert Eggers. It's a film already that we've seen before. It's people were comparing it to Hamlet. And obviously the only Hamlet thing, I never read Hamlet. I never read it. But the one thing that I know that I've seen that was based off of Hamlet, I think it was Sons of Anarchy. I brought it up to my friend yesterday. I was like, dude, you got to go see this film. And I'm like, people are saying it's like Hamlet, so maybe you'll like it. He's like, well, I don't want to see it if it's like Hamlet. I'm like, no, but it's cool. I'm like, it's still like, I know it's like cliche story and all that, but still it works here. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to see it. And I'm like, all right, then. He told me, he's like, yeah, then it's Lion King also. I'm like, all right, Lion King. But then I found out that this was actually before Shakespeare. I think this was used as the inspiration to Hamlet. I'm like, this guy's name's like Hamlet, but they named him Hamlet, I think, in Shakespeare. So this was like the first one. This is the actual one. And I think Shakespeare took the inspiration from this. I don't know. So don't come cheat me out. I don't know. But it was right there. So that I was like, it's kind of like the original one. This was basically the original one. They finally like did a story on the original one. So yeah, I love that stuff. The directing, the cinematography, writing, the acting's great in here. There's not. I know some people are criticizing the acting. I thought the acting was pretty good in this film. It wasn't as bad. I thought it was decent. I didn't see anybody who like actually felt. Oh yeah, I love that Willem Dafoe plays like I didn't. This is where I felt like Shakespeare. That's why I didn't know. I thought he was just doing it like to kind of play like as Shakespeare. But look, Hamlet is Shakespeare, and this was the inspiration for it. So obviously he kind of was using Shakespeare influence right there too. So right when I saw like Willem Dafoe play like a jester or whatever, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that he's playing like a jester. It reminds me a lot about the stories from Shakespeare and all that. So yeah, those things were amazing as well. The other thing is the music score. The music score is great. It's not as big as other scores that came out this year, but it's a decent, good score, and I loved it. I love when the end credits play and all that. A lot of people in my theater actually, even though some of them were grossed out by a scene, but you can tell a lot of people are really satisfied with the movie. It's a movie that actually satisfies, and to me, it made my money's worth. And I'm glad to like actually conclude right here with with this film right here. You know, it started with the Batman. I went to go see Sonic, two like IP movies. Then I saw Ambulance, a blockbuster non-IP, everything, everywhere all at once, an original story. You know, I saw the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, a Nick Cage movie, and now here I ended off with this. The beginning of like 2022 was amazing. You know, we got like a great comic book movie, The Batman, which has an artistic like vision and all that. And I think it helps people that, you know, because we get these movies a lot and there are people that actually want to be filmmakers. And some of us see that you can't really learn anything from these like basic type of comic book movies already. But something like the Batman, I think, can help out people that are wanting to be directors and they want to make a superhero movie. At least you can look to that one and try to see what you can learn from that to actually tell a good story, at least in the superhero genre. I love that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was actually better than the first one. It actually felt like they finally made it for an all ages type of film. I love that Ambulance was a blockbuster filming on location and practical stunts, the way blockbusters, action blockbusters used to be. Everything, everywhere, all at once. An original story. A lot of people loved it. I had my issues with it because of my sense of humor. It's not with some of the things in it, but I'm not gonna ignore the part where it helped out a lot of people in an original screenplay and it moved people at the theater. And as I said, that movie was made to be watched at the theater. What they did, that movie was made to be watched at the theater. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, just Nicolas Cage, amazing actor. I'm glad he's back and I hope he comes back to more. Right here, another blockbuster film by Robert Eggers. It shows that Robert, you know, Matt Reeves is good as a blockbuster film and he's being kind of known now as an author to blockbuster also right now. And it seems like Robert Eggers could be another one too. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to go there because, you know, he likes those type of movies that he does, like The Witch and The Lighthouse, which I'm glad he does. And I hope he sticks a lot to that. But if he can do anything new, that's great. And you can see he can do both, either indie film or big budget films, you know. But I just hope he gets satisfied with whatever he does in the future, you know. And I'm glad he did this. I was entertained. So I thank Robert Eggers. I thank these directors, these writers, and these studios that did this film. So I had a lot of fun in the beginning of 2022. Now I'm kind of getting to the end of the beginning of 2022. There's just a few films I think I want to see in the summer and a few towards the end, unless some word of mouth happens or something big pops up. You know, sometimes that happens out of nowhere. Oh, guys, so before I do that, I know I did like a little surprise. I ended up showing my Batman thing right there on the other video of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Now I'm going to do this one. I ended up doing a little like contesting or sweepstakes thingy where you like just tag for your name. You tag your name to get like a prize. And since this was a movie I actually really loved this year, I really wanted this t-shirt. And I saw only people that have like the connect to like the studios and all that get this. But some theaters were actually doing a thing where they were like, oh, you could win this. So I tagged myself and I told my friends, please tag me. And they did. I thanked them so much. They saw how much I wanted it. And so I'm going to open it right now and see if it is what I think it is. I think it is what I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yeah, it is, guys. Look what I got. One of the movies that I really enjoyed this year. Can you guys see what it says? It's Michael Bay's Ambulance. Yep. Oh, man, this is the part that bothers me a lot. I wanted a large or an extra large. This is not, I could already feel that this isn't an extra large or a large. It's like a baby t-shirt. Look. Ambulance right there. I gotta stretch it out. I wish you could like do something to make this bigger. I'm not, this thing's gonna be tight on me. I don't wear tight shirts like that. That sucks, man. I really wanted it to fit me. I thought they were gonna give me like 3 of them, but they gave me whatever size they had. But maybe I'll stick it to the wall. So it's Michael Bay's Ambulance, which is amazing. I'm actually happy to have it. I wish it was my size, but I don't think it's my size, man. Yeah, it's a medium. It's not my size anymore. I wish I was a medium, but no, it's not gonna fit me. But I'll just keep it. I wish they would have gave me a large or an extra large. But I got the hat, and I guess I get to keep this. Maybe I'll try to find even extra larges out there. But it was cool. I won it, so that's amazing, man. I like this stuff. So there's Ambulance. Yeah, guys. So that's my review for Robert Eggers. I'm all promoting Michael Bay. I'll promote Michael Bay. That's my review for Robert Eggers, The Northman. If you guys enjoyed my video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.